College basketball, Indiana versus Kentucky this Saturday on NASN.
Referee Bill Vinovich is still under the hood. And here's a look at the play again. And this year, even though down by contact, you can challenge the rule.
Right, and there's no question the ball's out before the knee's out. But there's a secondary phase of this. There has to be clear evidence that the recovery was made by the opposing team. And here Aaron Smith has the ball. There's, in my opinion, Derek Anderson has his hand in there. I don't think that constitutes a recovery on his part. But that's going to be the only question here. The ball clearly out, and whether or not conclusive evidence is there that Aaron Smith made the recovery. There was a play a few weeks ago where there was no doubt that the ball was out and the recovery was made. I think it was one of the Jets players got up and carried the ball to the sideline and said, here you go. But on videotape, you couldn't see it because they're all in a big pile. So they said, no, it didn't count. So that's the only issue on this one.
Now, he's supposed to be limited in his time under there, but he's already gone over his allotted.
Well, and what is probably happening here is they're trying to spot the ball. You know, figure out exactly where the recovery was made and where the spot of it is. And,
but to your mind, this is clearly a recovery Pittsburgh, huh?
Oh, I don't know clearly anything anymore, but it looks to me like if I had to make a judgment, I'd say Aaron Smith had the ball and not Derek Anderson.
The quarterback did fumble the ball. Clear recovery by Pittsburgh. First down.
Great play by Aaron Smith.
Yeah, it really was. And Derek Anderson's lucky he didn't get his arm broken in there when Aaron Smith had a chance to recover that thing. No way he's giving it up. So the Cleveland Browns have an opportunity, get the big turnover, and then give it right back. And there's a player I really like in the NFL, Aaron Smith, that one right there. He is something else, a guy that takes no credit whatsoever for anything, just day in and day out, grinds away at his profession, and has been a really, really good one for a long time.
Good field position for Roethlisberger and the Steelers offense, which has had no problems moving the ball tonight. Willie Parker into the secondary inside the 25-yard line before Lee Bodden drags him down.
Well, we told you this was their favorite play. Here comes Faneca right through here again. There you go. You get the double team. You get Faneca kicking out, and Willie Parker, if he believes in anything, he believes in that play. Look at the size of that crack. I mean, it was just barely wide enough for him to squeeze his body through there, and he hit it full speed. Nice run, too.
26-yard pickup. Parker having a good night. 15 carries, 106 yards in the first half. He'll get a 16th carry.
Now, I'm gonna dog my buddy, but you think that the bus could have put his body through there?
Maybe a thigh?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
4:45 to go in the first half. Don't forget, the Wendy's halftime show is coming up. Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, Deion Sanders, and Marshall Falk will have first half highlights and analysis and a look ahead to Sunday's action. 2nd and 6. You don't think Bus would have fit through there,
Oh,
huh?
absolutely.
Parker having a busy night. Willie McGinnis with the hit. Crashing down from his outside linebacker position.
Jerome Bettis, let's see if we think the bus would have gone through there. I think it would have been like a stopper in the bathtub. I think it would have just stuck right there. So, you know, every once in a while, it's better to have the bus, but sometimes it's better to have Willie Parker, too.
It'll be 3rd and 5 for the Steelers. Najee Davenport has checked in for Parker. Just beats the play clock. Roethlisberger this side, in and out of the hands of Santonio Holmes.
Such a timing play, and it takes years and years and years. Hines Ward, that probably would have been a touchdown right there. And not because he's a better athlete or a better player or any of those things. He just has the experience with Ben Roethlisberger to know where Ben's going to throw it and when to stop and turn around. It's just man coverage, and Ben knows it. It's not that it was a bad throw. It wasn't a bad route. It's just the timing issue between two guys that haven't worked together that much.
This will be a 35-yard attempt for Reed. He's already kicked one tonight successfully from 23 yards. This one's blocked. This one blocked inside. Looked like it might have been Alvin McKinley who came through.
So the Browns live another day. They've been hanging in there, and you know, this is a football team that last week they looked like they were done and finished and came back in that one, so we'll see.
Let's watch and see if indeed that was McKinley. He was up his own guy. Good push right up the middle was McKinley, but he never got a hand on it.
Yeah, it was just penetration on the part of the Cleveland Browns, and McKinley is exactly right. He's the guy that got the penetration and drove those huge 300-pound offensive linemen back into the kick.
I was about to say, I think the block was actually executed by the left cheek of Trey Essex. And so the Browns will be in business, 1st and 10 from their own 25. Derek Anderson has played pretty well for a second-year pro in his first start, but so far nothing to show for it on the scoreboard. This is Jason Wright, and the Browns running game just not having any success at all tonight.
Boy, James Ferrier coming in from the backside, and what the Browns are trying to do is get a double team off to the right and create some cutback lanes back behind it, but the Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker is just too fast. I mean, we've seen Porter when they tried to go outside, he was there, and now you see James Ferrier, they try to cut it back inside, and he's there. So I think Derek Anderson's just going to have to drop back and throw it.
And we should note that Joe Andruzzi, who's usually starting there, has gone to the sidelines with a knee problem. We'll try to check on his return a little bit later. Lenny Friedman is in for him. Anderson will throw.
Ooh.
Darnell Dinkins, ball behind him, in and out as he takes a lick from Anthony Smith.
Anthony Smith, the rookie out of Syracuse, is going to do what's, oh
Ouch.
My goodness, is what Steelers safeties have been doing for a long time. I played whatever 8 times in this, not this stadium, but in Pittsburgh over the years. And if you got behind the Pittsburgh Steelers, they weren't going for interceptions anymore. They were going to put you in the hospital, and they would laugh at you and take shots at you, and they were trying to punish you out there.
Anderson will have to throw on 3rd and 9.
Man.
In and out of the hands of Dennis Northcutt.
Derek Anderson's making some pretty nice throws out here, and he's just not getting a lot of help from his receivers.
That's 2 drops of Northcutt. Edwards has had a couple in and out of his hands.
Yeah, and it's cold, and I understand that, and it's a tough catch, but maybe on that one you can lay out and dive and catch it and drag your feet. You need to make some plays for a young quarterback.
So far, Anderson not getting a lot of help. And so Zestadil will punt it away, and Santonio Holmes once again will have a chance to field this one just beyond his own 30. He'll get maybe 4 yards before he's dragged down. NFL Network re-airs, don't forget, the 4 best games from the weekend, adding coach and player commentary. Watch NFL Replay Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's 2 games per night, only on NFL Network.
Well, I sit in there with NBC every week, and all 11 games are on at the same time, and you're thinking, all right, I get a chance to watch all the games. If you watch 2, you're doing pretty well. I mean, it's not easy, so the NFL Replay in the middle of the week is a great way to catch up on some that you missed.
Roethlisberger will bring the Steelers up with time for maybe 1 play before we hit the 2-minute warning of the first half. He'll start from his own 35. Najee Davenport is loaned back to his right. Davenport with his first carry of the evening. Ball comes loose. Steelers would seem to be on top of it. Andre Davis appeared to be the linebacker who stripped Davenport. Steelers with the recovery. We've reached the 2-minute warning at Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. The Steelers out in front 10-0 on a cold and snowy night in Pittsburgh.
Thursday Night Football on NFL Network is brought to you.
The reason why I think I'm successful is I think I love playing football.
Brady drops back to throw, looks, fires right. Touchdown! He is down to the 5 and he's in! Touchdown! Fires, touchdown! What a throw by Tom Brady. Brady has been spectacular. And Foxborough loves Tom Brady.
We're playing San Diego. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, and puked in between. And that's when I knew it.
I felt like I was playing with little kids and I was a grown man, like Superman.
I ran the fastest 40 at the camp, and I was still 15 years old. So that's when I knew I was gonna be pretty good. Oh yeah.
Can't say how thankful I am for all the success I've had. It's a dream come true.
Back to throw. He's going to throw it to the end zone. Touchdown! What a throw by Brett Favre. He shoveled the ball forward as he was going down.
That's just such heads-up veteran play by Brett Favre.
He flipped it into the end zone backhand. What a lunge by Brett Favre. I've never seen anything like it.
This is the best thing that's happened in Green Bay in a long time.
Legally held Bodden on that play and allowed his teammate to go make the recovery.
Santonio Holmes getting credit for the recovery.
Good hustle all the way around, and it's a good job knowing the rules. You know, a lot of people think that, oh, there's a fumble and you can't hold, but you can. It's one of the few times it's legal to hold. For a wideout, it's always legal to hold, though. That was my rule. It's like, you know, that's legal. What the heck? I'm smaller than the rest of those guys. That counts.
It's legal. Thus the term no holds barred.
There you go.
Willie Parker is checked back in after Davenport's fumble. And we're inside the 2-minute warning. The Steelers still clinging to a 10-0 lead. Looking at what the Browns have and have not done tonight, they've got to be pleased with the play of Derek Anderson, but for the fumble, he hasn't gotten a lot of help tonight.
Yeah, and when you have a young quarterback, you have to be able to run the football. I mean, you're in Pittsburgh, you're playing on the road. You just have to be able to pound it in there a little bit, and at the very least set up some play action, some screens, some of the things they were doing early in the ball game. But you know, they're still in it. You know, it's taken a few breaks and a few turnovers and all, but they're still in the game.
Conversely, the Steelers have marched up and down the field, but they've got only 13 points to show for it. 10 points to show for it, excuse me.
Yeah, and they can't feel too comfortable about it, but so far in the 2 games they've played against the Cleveland Browns, their defense has been absolutely dominant. And unless the Browns can come up with some big plays, and eventually they're going to have to take a shot at some. You know, everything that they've been throwing so far has been underneath and quick throws and all those sorts of things. At some point, you've got to give your guys a chance to work down the field.
And Davenport has checked back into the backfield now on a 3rd and 15, we would assume, for blocking purposes.
Yeah, they're probably not going to give it to him again.
You think?
Oh, yes, they did.
Hey. Shows what we know. Najee fighting towards the first down marker. He'll come up about 2 yards short of it.
Oh, Bill Cowher's softened in his old age. I'm not so sure that 14 years ago he would have turned around and given it to him again. Of course, playing Pittsburgh Steeler football there, not wanting to take a chance on a turnover right before the half, willing to punt the football away and let his defense work this lead. This is the way the Steelers play. They get up on you early. They're explosive. They do some wide open plays on offense. We saw the double move to Nate Washington. And then they just, as they call it here, take the air out of the ball. You know, they're going to run it, run the clock, let their defense make plays, and win this thing 17-3, something like that. About like what they did last week against Tampa.
And so Chris Gardocki will punt from just inside his home 30. Dennis Northcutt, who has had some problems hanging on to the passes tonight, nonetheless is 4th in the NFL in punt return average. He's a threat back there. He'll get a chance to return this one as he feels it at his 24, but can't get back to the 30 before James Harrison. Once again with a special team stop. We have a flag on the field.
And if this is against the Browns, you go from...
During the return, illegal block in the back. Receiving team number 51. 10-yard penalty. Cleveland keeps the ball. First down.
Just to finish my point there, you go from being in a spot on the 30 where you can be aggressive to now backed up. You probably play it conservatively.
You just want to get in at halftime.
I was thinking about a Wendy's burger, really.
Hey, there you go. Wendy's halftime show. Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, Deion Sanders, and Marshall Faulk for first half highlights and analysis, as well as news from around the NFL. And man, we got a lot of it. We got to talk about that in the second half.
Look at these guys. They're getting jacked up. They love it.
They getting jacked up or they getting warm?
I think they're getting jacked up. That guy, you know, even watching practice the other day, they're chanting and dancing and talking, and they like playing football.
The Browns go 4 wide for the first time tonight as they empty the backfield. Anderson throwing wide of Joe Jaravicius. Stops the clock with 1:33 to go in the first half. We saw Brian McFadden defending on that play. Ike Taylor, normally the starter over there, he's in Cower Chateau Bow Wow, yes?
Yeah, and, you know, some of the players on the Steelers defense, they don't like it. You know, they said cornerback and quarterback are the two positions you can't mess with their psyche. And here's Ike Taylor. He had a couple of bad games, one against the Cleveland Browns, and he got benched. But the Steelers defenders still think he's one of their best corners.
Anderson trying the other sideline, throwing low and completing to Dennis Northcutt.
Against Ike Taylor.
Against Ike Taylor.
Yeah, and
Taylor's a guy who they gave a lot of money to in, what, a 5-year deal?
Yeah, he got a new contract. He played well, kind of made his money by playing Chad Johnson. You know, Chad Johnson was a guy that had been giving him a lot of problems, and he had a couple of good days, and they gave him a big contract.
He completes to Winslow, but he's dropped before he can get out of bounds or get to the first down marker. Clark Hagan's there. We've moved inside a minute in the first half.
Yeah, Winslow's a guy that's going to have to be involved. If you're going to play this ball control passing game, you have to keep feeding him.
Through the arms of Dennis Northcutt.
I thought they might have gotten Joey Porter offsides on that play, and like he kind of couldn't keep his weight back, and it would have been a first down for the Browns, but they didn't call it.
Are you surprised the Browns being so aggressive in the final minute of the first half with a new kid at quarterback?
What do they have to lose?
Good point.
Come on, let's fire it around a little bit.
Anderson looks to continue the drive. Throws over the middle once again. Joe Jaravicius gets him close to midfield. Tyrone Carter on the stop.
Yeah, and Joe Jaravicius was a found asset last week. Looks like we've got the official wants to say something.
Cleveland's third and final timeout. I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Jaravicius last week in the game against Kansas City, it's sort of, you know, they signed him as a free agent. He's coming off his best year with the Seattle Seahawks a year ago, most catches of his career. And he turned around and he just wasn't really a part of the offense. And then last week, they started throwing him the ball, and he made a lot of plays. And he's come back tonight, and he's getting a chance. I can't really explain to you why that he wasn't a part of it or a bigger part of it before, but he's a hard-knocking pro. You know, he's a guy that cold weather's not going to bother him. The pressure's not going to bother him. He's been in the big games before, and he can help them, especially in those third down throws.
The other two receivers, the kids, Winslow and Edwards, are quite frankly going to have to show a lot more maturity if the Browns are going to get somewhere.
Well, there's no question. Those two guys are going to have to be the leaders, and the more that they complain about not getting the ball and the things that they don't get, the more it undercuts the authority of their head coach, Romeo Crennel. And at some point, you have to learn to grow up and begin to think what's best for the team and not just what's best for you.
33 seconds left, 1st and 10 for Anderson. Lots of time. Completes it this side to Jaravicius, getting inside the 30 before stepping out of bounds, stopping the clock with 25 seconds left in the first half.
Great job by Jaravicius on that one. He worked all the way across the field. He's going to come up, and instead of stopping here, he saw there wasn't a hole, and he just kept going all the way across the field, and Anderson just kept waiting for him. There's one zone. No, that's not there. There's not. No, that's not there. And just keep going. And Anderson found him all the way across the field. Starting to develop some confidence now in Jaravicius, you can tell.
Jason Wright is checked in the backfield. He's to the right of Anderson. Kellen Winslow breaks one tackle, but then he's stacked up at the 23-yard line. The Browns are out of timeouts. We're moving down 10 seconds.
Plenty of time. The biggest danger there is that you are not set on the play, because you would end up with that 10-second runoff with the penalty. Nice job there by Anderson, just taking his time, making sure everybody's set, take a shot at a field goal. And boy, this game sure feels more like a Pittsburgh Steelers half, and yet if the Browns can come out of here 10-3 with a little momentum, they're going to feel pretty good about it.
Phil Dawson will attempt a 40-yard field goal. Remember, he hit the game winner last week as the Chiefs fell to the Browns in overtime, 31-28. Dawson hooks this one wide, no good. Romeo Cornell can only wonder what he's got to do.
This has to be one of the toughest stadiums in which to kick there is in the league. You just see so many field goal kickers. You have the bad turf, you have the wind blowing in off the river, and field goal kickers hate this place. They just hate it.
Dawson was a guy up until that kick was 8 for 8 from 30 to 40 yards. Make it 8 for 9.
Yeah, he hasn't had to play here yet this year. It's so strange because the stadium is sort of enclosed on one end and has two openings on the other. And so you really get this swirling wind that comes through here. And no matter what the flags on top of the goalpost tell you, a lot of times it's blowing the other way.
And the Steelers will take a kneel down to bring us to the close of the first half. A half dominated by the Steelers on everything but the scoreboard. It's 10-0 as we head to break. Steelers over the Browns.
Play football. The 2006 Buccaneers will spend this season as they did their last, pillaging offenses around the league. Rondé Barber, number 20, has created nearly 40 turnovers in his career and is a playmaker on a defense that was ranked number 1 in 2005. No one matches the strength and intensity of linebacker Derrick Brooks, the unquestioned leader in Tampa Bay's reign of defensive domination.
Pittsburgh, Derek Anderson getting his first start for the Cleveland Browns and playing pretty well early on, completing his first 4 passes, but he wasn't getting a lot of help and got nothing in the running game. By contrast, the Steelers' running game has been hitting on all cylinders. Willie Parker, 18 carries in the first half, 114 yards. The lone touchdown, a 49-yard strike from Ben Roethlisberger to Nate Washington. The Browns mustered a drive in the final minute, but when Phil Dawson hooked this one wide left from 40 yards, they were left scoreless, and they're on the bottom end of a 10-0 score. In what's been, I don't want to say a well-played ball game, but the Steelers' offense has done a lot between the 20s.
Yeah, it's just the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the way that they like to play football. They don't like to be in those big, wide-open games where they're going over 400 yards and throwing it for 350 yards. If they're in that type of game, you know it's not a Pittsburgh Steelers style of game. And yet, when you've watched them over the years, this is exactly how they won a championship last year, and this is the way they like to play.
If you're the Browns, you've gotten pretty good play out of Derek Anderson, but he hasn't had a lot of help. What do you do in the second half? What can you do?
I let him keep throwing it. I mean, the best thing that they've been doing is letting him just drop back and throw the football. On a cold night like this, on a bad field, it really impacts the pass rushers, and we've seen really not much of a pass rush from either team tonight. So just let them drop back and do what they did in that last drive. They've been moving the ball a little bit, throwing.
And it should be noted, Anderson has played pretty well. He's thrown the ball very well, but he had a couple of drops from Dennis Northcutt. He had a couple of from Braylon Edwards, who had one jarred loose. He managed to hook up with Jaravicius a couple of times, but he hasn't had much of a running game to speak of.
Yeah, he looks better than Jay Cutler did the other night. So what the heck, man?
That's not saying a lot.
Keep throwing it out there. But, you know, late in the year, you've got to find quarterbacks that can play in these kinds of conditions, because this is when championships are won and lost, especially when you're talking about the AFC North. But I have to say that so far I've been kind of impressed with them.
Again, this game being brought to you in HD. You talk about this is a time when games are won and lost, also a time when jobs are being won and lost. And Romeo Cornell, the hounds have been barking a little bit in Cleveland. He's in his second year, and we asked Romeo, does he hear him? He said, yes, he hears him. I asked him if he thinks he's playing for his job. He said he wouldn't put it that way, but he's sure that the final 4 games would have an impact on the decision.
If it does, then they've just lost their minds in Cleveland. There's just no way that you can expect a head coach to put together his personnel to run his system and get them coached up in a 2-year period of time. It just doesn't happen. One of the reasons the Steelers have been so good for so long is they've had 2 coaches over a long period of time.
Reed will kick it away. The up man is Lawrence Vickers. He'll take it and works his way back across the 40 to the 43-yard line. And here's what we were talking about with the Browns' history. And you can see that they had things pretty much their way for a long time when they came over from the American Football Conference with Paul Brown. But since '72, they have fallen on hard times by the lake.
Yeah, they had some good teams in there. I played during the decade of the 80s, and Marty Schottenheimer and Mack and Biner and Ozzie and some of those guys, Bernie Kosar, they were pretty good. Manfred Dixon and Frank Minifield, about as good a corners as I ever played against.
So young Derek Anderson still trying to put points on the board. We'll have 1st and 10 from his 42. And he'll throw on 1st down, pumps left, throws out here for Steve Height, but through his hands.
Good job in the secondary that time by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They tried to go to what's called a sluggo, or a slant and go, on the first play, and the Steelers didn't bite at all on that one. And so Anderson did the smart thing, pulled it down, and tried to hit one in the flat.
Anderson will try the running game this time, and Reuben Drones not having any success at all tonight.
I don't know who was supposed to block Aaron Smith on that one, but he came shooting through there from the backside. Nobody got a hand on him, and Aaron Smith is too good not to block, just comes right through. It looked like Kelly Butler was the one that was trying to get him, and that's one of the points of controversy around the league. A lot of tackles in that situation would cut the back of the knees in the clip zone there, and defensive linemen go crazy, but it is legal. And it's one of the things that they just absolutely have been fighting for years.
Jumping on the right side as Joey Porter completes this one to Jaravicius. We've got a flag, but it looks like this one's going to go against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and then we had something going on in the secondary, so 2 different fouls here.
There were 2 fouls on the play, both by the defense. Offsides, number 55. That penalty's declined. Holding, number 24. That penalty's declined. Result of the play, 1st down.
Our friend Ike Taylor endearing himself further to Bill Cowher.
Top of the screen, you'll be able to see the hold by number 24. There you go. He got the stiff arm going, and then he grabbed the arm, and the officials caught him.
And so Anderson gives to the up-back, Terrell Smith.
Kind of like that run by Terrell Smith. There's just something about watching fullbacks run the ball. They're big old guys. All they ever do is block. They never get a chance to carry the ball. And every once in a while they hand it to him and they run over somebody.
As a blocker, he's been a good one. He's cleared the way for 5,000-yard rushers.
Watch this, just puts his head right down in the gut of Aaron Smith and drove him back for 2 or 3 yards. Like a body shot from Joe Frazier.
Call it 3 yards, 2nd and 7. Once again, through the arms of Dennis Northcutt. What's that, 3?
Anderson's pass intended for Northcutt, incomplete.
Trying to come up with a reason why that may be happening. He went to college in Arizona, maybe just not used to this, but he's been in Cleveland for a long time. That's 3 times a day that he's had a chance to make plays, and I think I'd go back to Joe Juravicius. Juravicius has been the guy that's been getting it done, and maybe feed a little Kellen Winslow action here on 3rd down.
3-to-1 ratio, as you can see. Derek Anderson's right arm getting a workout this evening. He'll throw again. He'll try to scramble out of trouble. Flips it this side for Jason Wright. But that one didn't have much of a chance.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do there, Brian, they're trying to go to the shovel pass that worked so well last week, coming across over to this side. And he looked at it, and then he was going to throw over that or a little screen back over there, but the Steelers read it, and then he did. I don't know what that was.
That was ugly. That's what that was.
You got a name for that one? I didn't have a name for that one. Romeo Cornell's wondering what the name of that one was, too.
Zastadell with his first punt of the half. Going for the near corner, Santonio Holmes, waving for the fair catch, and he'll take it straight out of bounds at the 9-yard line. And so the Steelers will come back out with their first possession of the second half. Willie Parker having a good night.
Can't say how thankful I am for all the success I've had. It's a dream come true.
Back to throw. He's going to throw it to the end zone. Touchdown! What a throw by Brett Favre. He shoveled the ball forward as he was going down.
That's just such heads-up veteran play by Brett Favre.
He flipped it into the end zone backhand. What a lunge by Brett Favre. I've never seen anything like it.
This is the best thing that's happened in Green Bay in a long time.
Some people think the internet is a good thing. The most powerful educational tool the world has ever known. It's preserving our history, keeping the past alive forever. It's the only place where freedom of speech truly exists. Some people think the internet is a good thing. What do you think?
Live college basketball returns to NASN, and we have a battle of 2 of the sport's biggest rivals. The Indiana Hoosiers enter the Big Blue of Rupp Arena in Lexington as they take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Live college basketball, Indiana versus Kentucky this Saturday on NASN.